The Metro on 101.9 WDET-FM. I'm Tia Graham. Now, Detroit has many renowned art and cultural destinations, but the one space that has literally weathered the city's ups and downs and pushback from local leaders are a few blocks nestled in the McDougall-Hunt Neighborhood. The Heidelberg Project in Detroit is an outdoor art installation created by artist and visionary placemaker Tyree Guyton to reimagine his blighted neighborhood. Guyton turned empty and dilapidated properties, reimagining what most would consider junk into iconic installations. He pushed the boundaries of what outdoor art could be and how it can improve a community. The work over time has become a celebrated example of Detroit's resilience. Through trials and tribulations, the installation celebrates 40 years this year, preserving the history of the space where 3 generations of his family lived. Guyton, now 70, is this year's Kresge Eminent Artist. The award recognizes his decades-long commitment to the city's community and the ongoing impact of that work. Joining me now is the man himself, Mr. Tyree Guyton. Tyree, welcome to the Metro.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, jumping into things first, congratulations for being honored as the 2026 Kresge Eminent Artist. What does it feel like to receive this award alongside celebrating 40 years of the Heidelberg Project?
I don't have words to express what's going on inside of me receiving this award. And can you believe 40 years?
No, it means that it's been here longer than me.
Get out of here.
It's been here longer than me, which means it means so much to so many of us because growing up in the city, that's what we knew. It was a project that's always been there. So hearing me even say that, what does it feel like to have that impact on Detroit and its residents?
I believe that that we are all here for a divine purpose. This is my purpose. 40 years, the ups and downs and the hard times. But let me read this here, and it's coming from Frederick Douglass. If there is no struggle, there's no progress. So you need a good fight, and this has been a great fight.
I mean, and looking back, did you ever think that this project would resonate with people in a positive way, but also resonate with people that wanted to put it down?
Well, you need opposition because it helps you, or at least me, to go deeper within inside of yourself to tap into that giant that is in every single one of us. And I woke up that giant.
And I want to talk about that. We're going to get into that, especially as we're talking about growing up in the city of Detroit when you did. You grew up where the installation currently stands, the Dottie Waddy. What was it like growing up there, the third of 10 children?
It was unbelievable. It was a whimsical place at that time as a kid. Let me say this because it's important. It was 10 of us. And I was different. I wanted to be an artist. I hated school, but I loved creating and drawing, and that's what I did. So Heidelberg, growing up, running up and down the streets of Heidelberg, and I just knew I wanted to be an artist. At the age of 5, I knew I wanted to be an artist, but I was told, you don't want to be an artist because they are crazy. And today, as I sit here talking to you, I'm so glad that I'm crazy.
And thinking about your grandfather, who was a commercial sign painter, did you ever see him and think to yourself, oh, I can do what he's doing?
He would take me with him.
Yeah.
As a kid, he said that he saw something in me, and so he would take me with him on every Saturday. He was painting, a commercial painter and signs and stuff like that. And he said that that I was special. And it was him who taught me how to paint, mixing colors. And then he gave me a paintbrush. And that was my magic wand.
Your grandfather set you up with this love? I mean, you already had it in you, but he kind of gave you the tools and the resources to get started. Can you talk a little bit about that moment when you're understanding mixing colors and what that would do, and how that made you feel when you first started with that magic wand you call your paintbrush?
That very first moment, there are things in your life that you go through that you don't forget. But he gave me that paintbrush, and it was like the 4th of July. The fireworks just went off in my head, and I just knew it. My hand, this hand, the right hand, felt like it was on fire, shooting all up inside me. It's like going to church on a Sunday, and all of a sudden the Spirit of the Holy Ghost comes down, and you get up and you have to dance and shout. It was like that. Hallelujah.
And I just think of your what you've been able to create out of that moment with that magic paintbrush. So, this is just amazing to think that you were able to pursue this creative career, not without, like you said, without opposition, because of course you had opposition along the way the whole entire time. But 3 generations of your family grew up in that community. Who was all there?
Oh, my mom, my grandmother and grandfather and great-grandparents. Yes.
Such a beautiful thing to think about, growing up with multiple generations of your family in the way that you did, having them all in that neighborhood. What was it like being in a village like that and being supported like that?
Oh, you're talking about when people got sick, we would go and grandma would fix a bowl of soup to take next door to a lady was living next door. There was a love supreme that existed there at that time. People was working together in unison, and it was just unbelievable. You really had a village. And that right there, when I started the Heidelberg Project, I knew that I had to create a new kind of village.
That was going to be the question there. Was you grew up with this village, you grew up understanding what that community felt like to be loved, once again, by neighbors, family, all the people there, and should give that love back through the Heidelberg. It was already built into you to love this community so much that you wanted to give back to it. When we look at what's going on in our world today, how do you build that type of resilience in a person to want to care about their community like you have?
Well, you just said something very incredible. When you look at what's happening in the world, and in the music of Earth, Wind, and Fire, there's a song, "That's the Way of the World," and in that there's a verse that said, "If there's no beauty, create it." We had no beauty. The beauty had dissipated, but you have to see it. You have to see through the chaos and see the magic, and I was able to see the magic. And where there's love, there is life. And the love came out. And all of a sudden, I began to create a new kind of life. For this time, looking at what's happening in the world. I heard something today about the president closing the Kennedy Center. And when you think about the arts, I cannot imagine living in a world where there was no art, where there was no beauty, where there was no music. I wanted to be here.
Oh, right now, this is the Metro. I'm Tia Graham. We're speaking with Detroit painter and visionary placemaker Tyree Guyton. Guyton is this year's Kresge Eminent Artist. Now, we're talking just a little bit about growing up and what it's like surrounded by a place where you want to create this beautiful space that it can be, what your community can be. So if someone asks about what the project looks like, how would you describe the Heidelberg Project?
I would say to them, first of all, you come over, you get in your vehicle and you come over to the project, and you're going to drive down this street, Heidelberg Street, and all of a sudden you're going to see a kaleidoscope of colors, and you're going to see clocks mounted to the trees, and you're going to see this installation. I would say today it's my own personal museum. It's my classroom. It's a place that it's like a magnet. It's a medicine, and the whole world comes there because they should.
Because they should. And I, new to the east side, I drive past it often. And it's just, I grew up on the west, but I drive past it often, and I know exactly where I am when I'm driving in that space. I just you feel different when you're driving through that space. And talking about the space itself, of course, you talk about housescapes. And for those who aren't familiar with housescapes, what are housescapes?
Repeat that again. You the artscapes.
Housescapes.
Housescape.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I'm not
the homes in which that are in the place where the Heidelberg are.
Yes.
What do you call those homes?
Well, we call them. Those are sculpture pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, they got the house with the polka dots on it. We had the number house. Once upon a time, we had the penny house and the clock house. And let's go a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
And I want to look at it from a metaphysical point of view, philosophical point of view. What the body, this body, it's a house. And you live in these houses. And what came to me, and I grew up in the church world and been exposed to the Institute of Jeanne, you can help me with this, Institute of Metaphysical Research.
Yeah, it's a type of philosophical way of approaching spirituality. Yeah.
And this is Jeanne Whitefield. This is the special advisor to the Heidelberg Project, and if I can also say, the wife of Tyree Guyton. But you're speaking just a little bit about that that what that feeling is. If you could just talk a little bit more, what Tyree's trying to explain about being, our bodies are just vessels.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I mean, when you think about what it has taken for him to continue to endure, it has to obviously do with a state of mind. And that state of mind also dictates that everything in our world is a learning process. And that's the way you approach it. So we have like this negative and positive, or this resistance. And from that, for example, you build muscle. So it's just how you look at things, and you're able to see and appreciate that, we have a soul. And our soul is what's driving this creative energy and this force. So when Tyree speaks about the house, we're talking about the soul that's living within our own house. That makes sense.
It does. It really does make sense. And I often say, we are walking around with souls inside of these meat suits, but, we're walking around making it work. We're making it work. And just listening to both of you, or just listening to you speak, and Tyree, I'm thinking about just the people who've helped you along the way, because we have your wife here, of course, but then as well, we have Mr. Charles McGee, who was instrumental in helping you kind of get things going. What was your relationship like with the world-renowned Detroit artist Charles McGee?
Oh, Charles McGee took me to another level of consciousness.
Yeah.
I was a student over at the College for Creative Studies at that time when I first met Charles, and I went in there with an attitude. I thought that I was something. And Charles broke me down. I got to tell you this story. Another friend of ours named Mel Edwards told me that I needed to see Charles McGee, and I was just, once again, this young student at the College for Creative Studies. And I took my portfolio over there, and I walked in, and I had an ego, and walked in there, and Charles looked through my portfolio, and he said, brought up some easels, and he said, I want you to put your work up on these easels. And I'm sitting there, and he's doing a critique, and he's looking at my work. And then Charles took some paint, and I'm sitting there looking at him, and he started painting on one of my paintings. I'm going to be careful what I say here,
Yes.
because and I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And I wanted to choke him. And
Yes.
I said, that's my work. And, when you make a piece of art, it's personal. And then Charles said to me, he said, I had to do that because I had to break you down. Because institutions, in a lot of cases, have a way of making us tight, rigid, and we forget.
How to be whimsical.
That's what he did for me. He said that was something deeper inside of you, and you need to go inside of yourself.
So listening to that, number one, Mr. McGee to say, he put that paint all over, all over your work. Oh my gosh, the devastation and pain I would have felt deep inside. But you grew from that, and thinking about just being broken down in that way, learning about the things that you don't know yet. You simply just didn't know yet. You had the skills, but there was more that you needed to find. What did you find?
Me. Inside of me. And here's another story. The day I met Jeanne Whitefield, when I first met her, I didn't like her. And she came there and
Jeanne, I'm sorry. Because you're just like, hey, this is the story we get. Here we go.
She came and she was working for the bank at that time, and she came over there, and I thought she was very arrogant, and she was asking me all these questions and wanted to know, and you have to probably help me with this, but she asked me a question about what would make you put polka dots all over a house, and then I said to her, why would a contractor paint a house one color?
And I said, because it's supposed to be one color. Okay, give me my moment of embarrassment. Thank you very much.
And I said, really? But she also said that she came because she was going to help me to get a grip on life.
And it helped to get a grip on your life.
Well, I think that it was a symbiotic relationship. Here we go. Yeah. I'm from the west side. He's from the east side. He's doing this thing and, with no structure. And so it was a balance. Yeah. And so that's what happened is that, these are 33 years now that we have together. And I'm going to say this because I think it's powerful. It's not only an example of what it takes to make a project really thrive and go, but it is also the growth of two people growing together in love, in friendship, in partnership, and having that to endure. That is a true love affair. And so that's what I think that is wound up in this whole eminent recognition. It's wound up in the whole concept of what's happening with Heidelberg and going to the next level with our new executive director, Andy. So it's quite a journey. And I have to say now I'm at a place where I'm just cool.
I would say both of us.
Both of you all are cool now. And we're going to come back to this conversation because I definitely want to ask more, learn a little bit more about some of the ups and downs truly that the Heidelberg Project had to go through and where we are today. So once again, we'll continue our conversation with the 2026 Kresge Eminent Artist, Tyree Guyton. This is The Metro. We'll be right back. On WDET, I'm Tia Graham. I'm joined by Detroit painter, visionary placemaker, and the creator of the iconic Heidelberg Project, Tyree Guyton. We're also speaking with the former director of the Heidelberg Project, Jeanne Whitefield. He is recently, Tyree Guyton, named the 2026 Kresge Eminent Artist, and it's been 40 years since Guyton painted that first stroke across those homes on Detroit's east side. We are discussing the journey thus far, legacy, and the work that remains. So, in the late 1990s, portions of the installation were destroyed by City of Detroit mandated demolitions. We were just talking about the ups and downs of the Heidelberg Project. This is definitely one of the not great moments of the history. Describe your relationship with city officials and the former mayor at the time, Dennis Archer. What was going on with the city and the Heidelberg Project?
Well, we need to go back before Archer. There was Coleman Young, and overall we have dealt with 7 different administrations of people, and trying to get them to understand the importance of art. We're talking about a neighborhood that was faced with a lot of issues. It was broken, and I'm going to go deep in that. The people was broken, and so you got broken people, you got a broken neighborhood, and how do you fix that? And so the government couldn't get it at first. We was doing everything in our power. Then Jeanne was working with us to educate them, to teach. I think that we as artists, you have to teach. A lot of times people don't know. I don't care who you are. A lot of times we don't know that we don't know. And so what they did for me through it all, the ups and downs, the demolition at that time, the first demolition was under Coleman Young was the mayor at that time, and then there's been 2 demolitions, 13 fires. We've been on trial, went all the way to the local Supreme Court. Dennis Archer was the mayor at that time. But something inside of me, every time they knocked it down, a little voice, that little voice, but it was a powerful voice that said to me, do it again. Do it again. And every time they did it, I kept doing it again, and the voice said, make it better. You got to stand. You don't have to be afraid of these folks. That was the best thing they could have done for me. I also remember my time over at CCS, and I was told I didn't fit in. They did me a favor. So I went inside of me, and that voice said to me, go deeper. And as Jeanine was explaining to you, coming into this teaching and learning about my creator of the universe, that has been my foundation. And so you need those hard times. You need the ups and downs. You need to let life take you around and around we go. Because what's happening, you're being made for what's to come. And so today I sit here and I'm happy deep down in my soul. And just say the city came and took it down again, I'm going to do something else.
And based on, once again, the things that you just told me, the fights that you had to fight, you've been through 7, you said, different Detroit administrations. How did that help fix the brokenness, though? How did it help push you through and make you stronger every time? Because for most, they just would have been like, let's start somewhere else. Let's go somewhere else and maybe try to build up, or let's maybe try to get involved with an institution. But you're just like, no. So why did you not? I mean, I know that little voice was telling you no, but you were ordered to remove that installation, and you're just like, I can't do it. So what about it just made you say, I am not giving up. I am not relenting. This is my community, and I'm going to make sure that I provide something for my community.
If I don't, who will? It's my community. I grew up there, and I'm a taxpayer. This is my city. I love this city. I love that community. When I'm out there working, it takes me back. I can see my great-grandmother sitting on the porch. I think about the ancestors. I think about the ghosts of the people. And the brokenness, I saw a need to fix it. And so every time I was faced with something, and I'm so glad that Jeanine was there, being part of it, witnessing. Can you imagine you going out there, 13 fires, and one of those homes had my artwork in that structure, and witnessing it burning to the ground, and saying, what do you do now, Tyree? So there's been moments I had to cry. It's been moments I had to go to my man cave and had to go out to Bella and had to get away from everything. And when you get away from everything and when you let go, and one time the city told me to take it down. I all thought they're trying to take it down, and I couldn't. You know why? It's bigger than me. This is my purpose. I gotta do this. I have to do it. And nobody can do it like I can. But I was so glad that I had somebody I could go and talk to. And there was times that Jeanine made me so upset when I was trying to wake up and say, hey, we got another fire. And she said, you go.
I'm thinking to myself, Jeanine's probably thinking, I'm not a firefighter, so what am I gonna do? That's you're shaking your head like, yep, that's exactly what it was. But the arsons. And I personally, growing up, I remember this like through and through, those 2020 or 2013, that time frame where it was just really, really ramping up in the city of Detroit. And I just remember hearing about the Heidelberg Project, and instantly my heart was just like, why would any person do this? Why would any person take something so beautiful and try to ruin the community, ruin the neighborhood? What was going through your mind as these things were happening? Of course, Jeanine said, I'm not going to go to every single one, but you were there and you were watching these things happen. You were watching your neighborhood burn down. So in your mind, what was going on, and how did you see educating the neighborhood about the beauty of art and how it can be this thing that is open and bringing people in? How did that change your mind? You have the fires. How did you plan to educate the neighborhood after the fires?
No pain, no gain. And I was so glad. I can say that today, but I was mad at her. But I needed to go and be there myself. It kind of like when Jeanine was in Baltimore and she just came back last year, and the project we had to start over again. And she said something to me. She said, "You got to go back." And she said, "You're going to do two things. You're going to sink or you're going to swim." And I came back here to swim. Fix you, then you can help other people. It starts at home first. I was broken. I was sad. I was upset. There was times I tried to run away from this. You can run, but you can't hide. I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about the song of, Jenny, you probably have to help me, the whale and the guy who was trying to get away,
Jonah
and the whale. I'm trying to get away from this whale.
It's coming.
I was running, but I was running from me, and I had to stop. And once you stop and you realize that everything you need to fix yourself, to fix the city, to be part of the change, is in you.
In hearing those words, because we're going to get to the rest of the conversation, of course, but I do want to sit there for a moment because there are so many, like you said, broken people. There are so many people in the city who don't know that they can have better, or don't know how to pursue what is better for them. How do you use the Heidelberg Project or other works that you've had to allow people that space to know that they can grow, to know that they can be more?
There are times that you have to show people. You have to do something in a radical way. You have to create this oasis, this spectacle of beauty right there. You have to put it in the faces of the people. And what I found out, that the truth will set you free. What do I mean by that, Tyree Guyton? Once you can see you, and you come around to knowing who you are, what you are, that's how you do it. And so I was not only fighting for myself, but I was fighting for the people that I witness as I drive around and seeing the homeless people. I want to go back for a minute. I remember back, it was during Coleman Young's administration, that there was homeless people that was sleeping around the city county building at that time. And they had those heat vents out there. And the police decided it was going to move the people. And a group of homeless people came to me and said to me, "Can you talk about our plight?" And I said, "Why me?" "Well, why not you, Tyree?" And I said, "Well, what do I create?" So what I did on the Heidelberg Street, I took 6,000 shoes and placed those shoes in the street facing a different direction. And the city went crazy. And I called that installation Street Folks, talking about the plight of the homeless.
And that's enough to, number one, make people wonder what does this mean? But then number two, really question the city and its impact on homelessness, especially at that time. Today, we're still seeing the same fight against homelessness in this city. It's still really, really bad in this city. Mayor Sheffield said that's one of her priorities is to make sure that they, attack it head on, address it head on. But how has art been something that you've used to tell those larger stories, or really hold a mirror up to society itself, especially when we talk about the legacy of Detroit? 40 years of the Heidelberg Project is 40 years of putting a mirror up in front of Detroit, as well as allowing the community to have this beautiful installation. But it's a mirror. So what does it say then, and what does it say now about the city of Detroit and its evolution?
Well, what I'm saying now about the city and the evolution of the city is that, and the people have to believe this now, if people drive down Heidelberg Street today, they're going to see clocks mounted to the trees. And I put them up there, and the reason why I did that is because I'm saying to the world, it's your time. But you have to believe it. And once you can believe it to the point, it makes you go out there and you do something about your situation.
May I?
Oh, please.
I just want to add something to that. I think that what's really important to reflect on here is that it's never a direct way of telling people this is what you should do and what you shouldn't do. It is a mirror. And that's why when you said, Tia, that, it's a special feeling there. So it gives a person an opportunity to witness for themselves what's going on within themselves without being judged, without being told, without being smeared. And that is part of the magic. Now, I'm telling you, when I tell you that there's magic on that street or within that environment, that's real. And I also wanted to just mention that, the more, physical or tactical effects of Heidelberg is witnessed by how there are people in that area who've moved into that area as a result of the project. But it's a grassroots effort. No big major development. It's just very slow and methodical. So I think that there's something to be said for how an artist can rebuild a community. It's slow, it's thoughtful, and it's meaningful. Yeah.
Jeanine, that was beautiful. And thinking about the community and that mirror, but once again, being a space and a place where community can grow outward from that epicenter. What do you see for the future of the Heidelberg Project in Detroit?
Well, we're going to have to really put that one in the hands of our new director, Andy. But I will tell you this, what he has said and what has happened, and he's very much a part of this trio, is that we are now looking at, we got to look at legacy work. Tyree's 70, as you said. So we're transitioning, and Tyree is now making room for other artists to come in. But again, that's a thoughtful and a very creative process. So we're transitioning from Tyree Guyton's Heidelberg Project to Detroit's Heidelberg Project.
Which is a big thing because
it's a very big thing.
Tyree, that means you're giving it to Detroit.
Yes.
You're giving it to the city.
I'm giving the city.
To the people.
Power to the people. It's all about the people. People power. People
power. And my last thing to you, because we already are down the line here. We're already down into the wire here. I could talk to you all day long, both of you, all day long. Since 40 years of the Heidelberg Project, since you started to where we are now, the city of Detroit and its efforts to show importance to the arts, where do you see it now in terms of the relationship with the arts in the city?
Well, I'm going to go back to something I said earlier. You cannot have a city without having arts. What would life look like if you didn't have music and art? And art is a medicine. And in the Heidelberg Project, this project is known all over the world. It's my way of saying I'm going to give you something special because we need art. Without art, we won't be around. No. And so I would say that the time is now to take this and to grow this into something incredible. There's no limits when it comes to the imagination and creativity. And so the question, and I'm going to give it back to you, is how far do we want to go when it comes to creating beauty?
Tyree Guyton is a painter and visionary placemaker. He is the founder of the Heidelberg Project on Detroit's East Side, and Guyton is this year's Kresge Eminent Artist. We were also joined by the former director of the Heidelberg Project, Jeanne Whitefield. I want to say thank you, both of you, for joining me today on the Metro, because it was a very inspiring and I love this conversation. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, my sister.
Coming up, a lot of people recognize the name Albert Kahn, but they don't necessarily know what made his architectural designs special. Stay right there. We'll be right back. This is The Metro.